Welcome back to Kentucky Sports Television. Now joining us now on Skype is Larry Vaught. Larry, thank you for taking some time to talk with us. And before we get started talking about the basketball game, you look a little different than last time we saw you. I like your hat.
Well, that's kind of that Florida gator that's on the Kentucky back. That's that Florida monkey right up there on my head. It's kind of hanging over Kentucky and the SEC right now. So just thought we'd have a little fun with it.
I like it. And you're talking to somebody who's had face paint and wigs and everything else. So I can't poke any fun at you. I like it. Coming up shortly, Kentucky's going to play Alabama in a game that is probably a good test of where they are at this point. They look good against Auburn, blowing them out, but it's Auburn. What do you take away from that victory over the weekend?
Well, I take it, one, they had a little bit of fun, which is another reason I'm wearing the hat today, try to have a little fun back into Kentucky basketball, which we hadn't had a lot of this year. Two, I thought they kind of banded together with Willie Cauley-Stein out. It seemed like everybody played just a little bit better, and instead of trying to do too much, just kind of did what they should, which I think was a really good sign for Kentucky. But I think what we want to see now is, can Kentucky stretch this out and do it for a stretch of games? They had a pretty good week last week, beat Tennessee, and went down at Auburn and won impressively, especially with the way they played the second half. But now, can they go on the road and sustain it tonight at Alabama, which will be a much better defensive team than what Auburn was? Then can they come home, beat a bad LSU team, and then go back on the road and get wins over Mississippi and Texas A&M? Because I think for Kentucky to have a chance to be a factor in March, they've got to win these next 4 games. And to be honest, I don't know if they can do it or not.
How much are they impacted by Willie Cauley-Stein not playing? He's not going to play tonight against Alabama. No real timetable on when he will be back. How important is he to what they want to do? And should Kentucky fans be concerned long term about what not having him will do to the team?
I think you got to be concerned simply because of what it does to your depth. I think not having Willie in some ways kind of frees Kyle Wiltshire and takes some pressure off him and maybe lets him do some different things and have an opportunity to play more. And I think the other thing it does, it puts Alex Poythress back at that 4 position more, which I think he's a lot more comfortable playing the power forward instead of out on the floor with that small forward a little bit more. But it just wrecks your depth. They got some good minutes out of John Hood and Jared Polson both the other night at Auburn, but not having Willie to play his 15, 18, 27 minutes or something is really kind of tough, especially if Nerlens or Kyle or both would happen to be in foul trouble. So I think it's a little troubling that what was described as a minor procedure. Now, this will be the 2nd game he's missed, and really not saying, well, he's missing tonight, but he'll definitely be back Saturday. You're not hearing that. So I think you've got to be a little concerned at this point about what this is going to do to Kentucky.
When you look at this Alabama team, you mentioned they're a physical group. They don't do a lot of things really well, but they come at you and they push you around and they will attack you defensively. When you look at this game tonight, what are the keys, in your opinion, for Kentucky in order to walk away with the victory?
I think they got to be able to score. I know it sounds kind of trite, but you look at the other day, they held Texas A&M to 49 points. Well, Texas A&M, Elson Turner got 40 by himself against Kentucky. So I think they've got to be able to score and find different ways to score. Alabama is not great offensively in that game against Texas Tech. They had 3 scoring droughts that equaled 18 minutes, which is almost half the game. They didn't even get a point. But the other half of the game, they got 51. So they can either be really good or really bad offensively, and Kentucky is not a great defensive team at this stage. So I think Kentucky's got to find some ways to score points. I think that's one thing Kyle Wiltshire does help you with. Not only can he make shots, but he can help pass the ball and distribute the ball and get it to others. So I think that helps. I think Archie Goodwin, the way he played the other night on both ends of the court, was certainly impressive. If he can continue to take fewer shots and be more efficient, as Calipari likes to say, that'll be big for this team. But they basically, I think, just have to do what they did the other night. TJ, everybody just has to play within themselves, maybe play a little bit better, a little bit harder than what they have been, and then hang on at the end, because I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think this is one of these games you're going to get to the last 4 or 5 minutes, and somebody's going to have to make some plays, hit some free throws, and do those kind of things, because this is really a big game for Kentucky. It's not so much how much it helps you if you win, but it really, really hurts your tournament resume if you lose this game.
Speaking of the tournament resume, the bracketology came out today, and Kentucky is a 10 seed according to Joe Lunardi at ESPN. Others have them kind of on the bubble, in or out at this point. Not a lot of ground to be made up in the SEC because there's not a lot of great teams. What do you, as Kentucky continues in this SEC and they're trying to basically win in order to impress the resume committee, How critical is it for Kentucky to win the SEC, and where do you see them when it's all said and done?
Well, it would be huge if they could win the SEC, but as well as Florida's playing, it would be kind of hard for me to envision that right now. I'm still having a hard time convincing myself that I think Kentucky will be in the NCAA tournament. I want to see what happens these next 2 weeks. That's why I think these next 4 games are so crucial. If they could win all 4 of those, then I'll get back on the bandwagon that puts them in the NCAA tournament. But if they lose any of these next 4 games, then they go back again from being that 10 seed to being that team that's right on the outside looking in. And you figure it's going to be hard to make that up because you have to go to Florida, and you got Florida coming at home. There's no guarantee you win either one of those games. And any loss other than to Florida in the SEC is going to hurt your resume at this point. So huge game tonight. Then the next 3 are just as big, because if they could suddenly win 4 or 5 in a row and get a little bit off that bubble, then you give yourself a little bit of margin for error. Then if you go to Florida and lose, it's not the end of the world. And if you beat Florida and they come back up here, you help yourself a little bit. Then you go to the SEC tournament, and even if you don't win, if you can just win a couple of games, you would probably be okay. But if they lose 1 or if they lose 2 of these next 4, then I think they're in real trouble.
To this point in the season, a lot of Kentucky's success has been tied to Kyle Wiltshire, whether just in the numbers or not. When he scores in double digits, they're winning basketball games. When he's not, they're struggling. What's your take on Kyle Wiltshire? Is he a guy that they can really depend on? Can he be that player, or is he just kind of a streaky role player?
I think he's got to be that guy they can depend on, because he can do things on offense that they need. They are so much better on offense when he's in there that I think they've got to have him. And it's John Calipari gets paid enough money to figure out what to do with him on defense. Put the right pieces around him, hide him somehow, do some things with him, or live with a mistake or 2 or some things that he can't do, but figure out what he can do best and help cover that up, because they're just a much better and more efficient offensive team when he's on the court. Now, I'm not saying Kyle needs to play 35 minutes a game, but I think he's got to be able to play 20 to 26, 27 minutes for you because of what he can give to you on offense. He can hit that 3-point shot. He's shown out. You put the ball on the floor a little bit if you're way overplaying and get to the rim, and you can put him in that high post, and he can pass to other guys for easy scores. They just don't have anybody else with any size that is really that good a passer that can do that, and he just makes them a whole different team when he's in there on offense. So I think you have to have him on offense, and you've got to figure how you can live with him on defense.
And they will certainly find that out tonight. No doubt Anthony Grant is going to be attacking him with some of their athletic players they have. Larry Vaught, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and appreciate the time.
I always appreciate it, TJ.